Sorry about that. From double barrel popper heads to backwards diver heads to fettuccine foam and just regular flat foam, from bass bugs all the way to extended bodies. This episode of Tying Tips, we're covering foam. So foam in general is one of the most versatile products that we have as fly tires. So I would venture to say one of the very first things that comes to mind whenever you talk about foam is poppers. Little popping bugs for bluegill, big popping bugs for bass, pike, muskie, whatever. That's generally what I think of when I think of foam. But foam can be used in tons of different ways. Hidden, not hidden, extended away from the hook, used in strips like deer hair, which we're gonna get to the fettuccine foam stuff like the knucklehead and the knuckle deep and stuff like that. We're gonna get to that in a little bit. It's just such a versatile product. So when I think of foam, I generally lean toward the popper heads of all shapes, sizes, and colors. I learned to fly fish on little bluegill bugs, just like I would say a lot of you have, and that's what I gravitate towards. But there's so much you can do with these popper heads that you may not think of right off the bat. I obviously work very closely with flymen, and their double barrel popper heads, to be honest with you, are some of the coolest popper heads to probably ever hit the market. So instead of just being a round popper head, they're double barrel. Like there's two different, just more surface area per size of popper head to throw that much more water. Simple as that. So some of the videos I've done for flymen using the double barrel popper heads are really cool. So this Geppetto frog, Geppetto, get it? Geppetto? Is probably one of the cooler uses of a popper head that I've ever done. That is buddy, that's a frog. Everything about this fly is foam except for the rubber legs. The legs are all flat foam, different color on the bottom because the frog is, and you can tell with the spots and everything that foam takes color exceptionally well, like really well. So you don't have to go this extravagant with the double barrel popper heads. It's just something fun you can do, and these are a ton of fun to tie. But you can literally just take this popper head, which is the same popper head, and throw it on a hook with some marabou off the back or whatever, and you've got a whale of a popper. So if you only think of popper heads as being something that can float on top of the water, and like you immediately think of like largemouth bass flies and stuff like that, you're not thinking out of the box far enough. Several years ago, my good buddy Steve Daly, that guides on the White River, showed me a new fly that he had created called the lap dancer. And he spun a popper head around, created a diver head, but this is a big streamer. This thing's gonna sink. But the popper head gives you this crazy cool action. These things, crazy cool. And watching a big brown trout smash that is ridiculous. Ridiculous. So the next thing we're gonna talk about is craft foam. Most people think of like the 2mm craft foam. That this is the stuff you can buy at Hobby Lobby, at Walmart, all that stuff at your local fly shop. The 2mm craft foam is probably the most well known, but there's also 4mm, 6mm razor foam is super thin, like really thin. So think small dry flies here, humpies, just all sorts of different things to help things stay afloat. Sheeted craft foam is a really, really fantastic product. This is actually what I use most of the time for the knucklehead stuff, like the fettuccine foam heads that we're going to cover here in just a second. I take all these different colors and cut them into strips, and that's what I do a lot of times with fettuccine foam. We're going to show you how to tie that here in a second. But one of the coolest ways to use sheeted craft foam is to tie an extended body on, like a mayfly extended body, like a little dry fly that is going to float super high and has some little extra to it. And we're going to jump in and show you how to tie an extended body right now. For extended bodies, what you'll see is a lot of people using little devices that are basically a glorified needle that hold the foam portion of the extended body. Well, yeah, you don't need that. You really don't. I've got a horrible bodkin here. I mean, look at that dude. That thing is bent and just a normal everyday bodkin. I'm gonna stick that dude in my vise. Now this is going to be able to hold everything I need to do to tie an extended body, like a mayfly or whatever extended body, anything foam you're going to do. I'm going to prep by only starting my thread on the tip and leaving the extra. That's key. Next I've got a piece of just 2mm craft foam. I'm going to fold it over directly in half. And next I'm going to trim it to where the bottom part, where it's folded, is just a little skinnier than the top, because we want a little bit of a taper and this helps a little bit. So nothing crazy, but just a little skinnier. Next we're going to go as close to the front of that bodkin as we can to create our first segment. We want our first segment to be smaller than our next segment, and so on. First segment, smallest segment. Now we're going to take our thread underneath the foam. One wrap. And make another segment. 2 wraps. Now we don't have to tie these super tight. We don't have to bind these down really tight. Go underneath the foam again. And a little bit bigger than the previous section. Under the foam again. Twice to get a bigger section. I think you get it. So when we get to the end, when we've gotten all of our sections where we want them, we're just going to whip finish over this portion right here. Okay? So now we have this hanging portion of our thread, the extra. We want to go ahead and pull that tight, just as tight as it'll go, and just make sure that all the loose wraps are all taken care of. And then slide this off, cut our tie-in portion, and you've got a tapered, segmented, extended body. And last but certainly not least, and probably the reason that a lot of you are here right now, is the fettuccine foam. Fettuccine foam is 2mm craft foam that's literally been ran through a fettuccine pasta cutter. Seriously. This style of tying is Drew Chacon's. You need to check him out. I will link all this stuff in the description of this video. Definitely go check out his stuff. The guy is a mad scientist when it comes to creating different tying materials and tying tools. Just go check Drew's stuff out. But you basically use fettuccine foam like you would deer hair, almost exactly. It flares, you trim it. This stuff is really, really cool. When I created the knucklehead, which was the first one, this stuff was the biggest part of it. I knew as soon as I saw it, that was gonna change my fly tying forever. So I can literally thank Drew Chacon for creating this stuff. I had never seen it before he did it. So that's the knuckle deep. And we're gonna jump in and show you how to do that head. So to show the fettuccine style of tying, I couldn't find a better fly than the knuckle deep. So like we talked about, you don't have to use the actual fettuccine foam. You can cut strips of foam, and when you do that, you actually have the ability to do like some cooler stuff, like adding glitter. So what I'm gonna do is start off with 4 pieces of foam already cut, and I'm gonna stagger them like this. We're gonna treat this almost like deer hair. We're gonna 50-50 it, we're gonna flare it. So we're gonna lay this down on there. I'm gonna spin our thread a little bit. Gonna give it a wrap and pull. See, flares a lot like deer hair. Give it another wrap just to cinch it down. So now what I do for knuckleheads and knuckle deep is I don't want the foam all the way around the fly. I don't want this to be like a popper head type of thing. I want this to have all the foam on the top, like 3/4 of the hook. So underneath I have this open spot of just thread if I don't fill it with something. To fill this fly, this particular fly, I'm gonna start off with some fusion dub. So I'm gonna leave my thread exactly where it is. You can tell it's still in the middle there, right where I split the foam. And on the direct underneath side, I'm gonna put some fusion dub. Just as simple as that. Gonna pull everything forward, dub, foam, everything, and do it all again. Once I get to the eyes, I'm gonna back off to 3 pieces. I'm going that right there. Now for the last part of the fettuccine foam, I'm just gonna do 2. And I'm gonna switch to laser dub. And I know a lot of you have seen this, and I get so many questions about this. You can't really buy it anymore, but there are tons of half hitch tools on the market. Get a half hitch tool. They are fantastic for deer hair and stuff like this that's crowded on the eye to finish off a fly. So now we have this mess of stuff going on here. We're gonna trim this just like deer hair. We want it shorter in the front and longer in the back. So like I tend to keep my scissors somewhere around this angle here and just give it a good cut to start off with. And then you can get in there and tweak it piece by piece if you want to. And there's a knuckle deep. By the way, this is the next drop color, so if you don't follow me on Instagram, just so you know, I do drops of different colors and one-off colors of really, really cool stuff of knuckle deep, knucklehead, stuff like that. This is the next drop. They're very, very limited quantities, but when they're gone, and I'll never bring the color back again. So, it's a fun thing. It's cool. For those of you that are still sticking around this late in the video, I'm going to go ahead and give away the flies from the previous video. The random comment generator picked Garrett Bowman. Garrett, thanks for watching the videos. Go through and watch them all. Garrett, shoot me a message on Instagram or email and I'll get a care package to you. For your chance to win one of the flies in this video, subscribe to my channel, like this video, comment on this video, and I'll have the random comment generator pick up random comment. So I know craft foam seems like such a arbitrary, plain, boring type of fly tying material, but I really hope I've opened your eyes to some different uses for it that you may not have seen, or showed you how to use it in ways that you have seen, you just didn't know how to do. Like I said, I tie with this stuff all the time. Obviously, I use fettuccine foam a lot, like a whole lot. Which kind of leads me to, I've got a new drop coming on Instagram pretty soon with this exact color. It's the sexy shad color of Knuckle Deep. This is easily one of my favorite color combos, and I did some extra to it. I always do on these drops. So if you're not following on Instagram, jump over to Instagram, give me a follow. Fly Fishing in the Ozarks, and then stay tuned and you can get in on these drops. There are very limited numbers. They're only when I decide to do them. They're the colors I decide to do. It's just turned out to be a lot of fun to do these drops with you guys and to correspond with you guys. It's a lot of fun. Jump over there, follow on Instagram so you can get in on these drops. They're really, really cool. But I do hope that I've shown you some ways to use, everything from the craft foam to fettuccine foam to popper heads to slider heads. Craft foam is some of the easiest stuff to use and can be used in tons of different ways. Yeah.